all for thank you all for coming today so we can do part 2 of our cooking series, Cooking with Children, our Farm to EC Cooking with Children series. And Michelle Estrada is back with us again today. And she has more great stuff in store for us, I know. And I just can't wait because last week was just super. So I don't want to take away from her time anymore. We know more people will probably be joining us, but if you do know of people, please reach out via text, what have you, so that they can come on in and join as well if you don't see your colleagues here with us right now. But without further ado, I will turn everything over to Michelle.
Well, thank you so much. I am so excited that you're back and ready to learn more about how to cook with children. This is one of the activities that I like to do the most. I work with different audiences, but little kids are my favorite. So today we're going to be talking about cultural awareness when cooking with children. And again, my name is Michelle Estrada, and I'm the Family and Consumer Science Agent in Wayne. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what cultural awareness is. We're going to talk about NC local foods facts. We're going to share some resources, and we're going to cook some more, just like last week. So one thing that is important to know when you have all this information from NIAC is to incorporate anti-bias approaches in a program is less about adding physical diverse materials and more about the overall goal of promoting opportunities for everyone to be represented. Every time that I read this statement, it really hits on me. Just because I was born in California, but when I was 7 months old, we moved to Mexico. So I was an outsider when I was living in Mexico, even that I was learning everything. And I have been, it's where I started school and it's where I have my friends and my whole family was there. But because I was not born in Mexico, I was always like, oh, she's not from here. She doesn't know about this. So then when I moved to North Carolina and I moved 17 years ago, I felt the same way because every time that people were talking about, and I'm just going to talk about food because I like food. Every time that people was talking about barbecue, oh, she doesn't know because she is from Mexico, or any other things, or anything that was traditional from North Carolina. It was hard for me to have a conversation. But one thing that I discovered, you can talk only about a few topics, especially now with everything going on in politics and all that kind of stuff. Uh, you don't want to talk about politics. You don't want to talk about religion. But one thing that everybody wants to talk about is food. So that was one thing, and weather. So every time that I have to start a conversation with someone that I didn't know, I started with the food and trying to compare different things. And you will see why I'm coming to this. I'm talking about this topic. But food is culture, but also has culture. And it's just amazing because we can be eating the same produce, maybe the same fruits and vegetables, but we may be eating it in a different way, right? Because we may, like I said, we can have the same ingredients, but in our culture decides who eats, what, and when, and how it's served. So, and that's when we see the difference between different communities. So, we're going back to our program. Remember, not our program, but all our resources that we're calling them is Steaming Around NC. And next week is when we're going to be talking a little bit more about STEAM. So we have this map that I hope you're going to be able to use it. Again, this is something that you can send to a printer or to any I don't want to say names, so we're just sending it to print, but it will not be that expensive. But this is all the fruits and vegetables. Well, we're missing a few, but we didn't want to put too many. But the most important produce that we grow in North Carolina. So this is a great way to have it in your classroom. And I want to show you, I don't know if Marianne, you can, with the camera, I can show everybody. So we put the map in here. And I think, when you are talking about all these fruits and vegetables, it is really, a good visual for the children. so they can start looking into all these things that we grow in North Carolina. One of the things that you may say, oh, well, we grow more blueberries and or like cabbage. They grew a lot of cabbage in Sampson County, and it's not exactly in Sampson County, but we know that other places in North Carolina, they also, other counties, they also grow cabbage. And the same thing for sweet potatoes, even that is the sweet potatoes, most of sweet potatoes are coming from Sampson County. There are sweet potatoes everywhere in North Carolina. But we wanted to have this map, something cute that the children can see it. So in your Google Drive, again, is the same, has the same link that we shared last week. You're going to find in the cultural awareness with when cooking with children folder, you're going to find these as a poster that you can take it to the printer. Okay, so and also you can make it smaller, and you can make it smaller if you have a smaller printer. So let's talk about sweet potatoes. Okay, so this is, oh, I was ready to say why we're talking about local foods. Okay, so like I said before, I'm coming from a different, or I grew up in a different country, right? So I know the traditions, I know the food that we grow in Mexico, but I don't know what we grow in here. It took me several years and took me to work at cooperative extension to really learn what we grow and how we fix all these dishes that contain these kind of products. So I know we always want to learn about the different cultures in our classroom that are represented in our classroom. But today it's important to also reflect about what is our culture. So from there, when I was telling you there's some of the better conversations or the most wonderful conversations that I have with people, it's about food. So when we're talking with parents, we want to include them in the topics that we're teaching in our classroom. And at the same time, we want to exchange that information. So do you have sweet potatoes at home, and from, depending on the country that they are coming from, or another state, because that is another thing that it will be really nice to see, like how they fix sweet potatoes in their in a different state. So that's why we're talking about our culture in North Carolina based in local foods and our local foods. So North Carolina is #1 in growing sweet potatoes, and I'm sure you already know this, but we just choose a few facts about different products so you can share with your children. They are very easy and simple. So also, sweet potatoes is the state vegetable of North Carolina. And US President George Washington was a sweet potato farmer. So these are really easy facts that you can share with your children and with other parents when you're having this conversation. So this is this is one of the resources that I want to share with you. And this is from NC Farm to School. They have these amazing booklets that you can print from their website. And actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, well, you're going to have this in the presentation that we're going to put in the Google Drive, and you can copy it from there. But I want to show you, like, for example, this one is called Digging for Sweet Potatoes. This is a really good resource that, can we share the video, Marianne, please? So different ideas. It's a little bit too long for preschool kids, but this will give you a lot of information to learn a little bit more about sweet potatoes or any other. We chose, I think six to talk about today, 6 different fruits and vegetables. And the only one that I was missing, it was pumpkins, but that's okay because you can get the information somewhere else. But I love, this little map that shows you where sweet potatoes are grown. And that's what I was telling you about the other map that I'll show you. But all the facts that you have in here, from the weather, from the kind of equipment, agricultural equipment that they're using, everything is based on North Carolina. So this is a really good way to teach children about their culture. And it's amazing because, especially if you live in a rural area like we do, we're able to see, people working on the sweet potato field, and we're watching them. So children are watching all these things. I remember when I was in the classroom, I used to work for Head Start. The children, we have a cotton field, and that was my first time in a cotton field. So you can imagine I was like another child, and I was just playing over there, and we were looking and we were observing, and the farmer let us took some of the cotton plant. So it is an amazing opportunity to share not just about the culture, but also about other areas that we can teach our children. But like I said, in here I have a strawberry, watermelon, we have apples and blueberries and sweet potatoes. So now, if you can, you can open your mic, or you can use the chat box, and you can share with me what other things, other dishes do you think that if they're very traditional from North Carolina. The ones that I know, and actually I know the sweet potato casserole because it's not my favorite. That was my first dish with sweet potatoes. And I thought that I never tried sweet potatoes, but I'm going to share that story in the next slide. So that was the first time that I thought I tried sweet potatoes, eating a sweet potato casserole. Then we have sweet potato pie and baked sweet potatoes. Can you think of any other traditional dish that you ever try with sweet potatoes? I have some in the chat box, I think. Sweet potato fries. Well, let me tell you about that one. For a long time, I was like, I don't like sweet potatoes, and I don't like sweet potatoes because, like I said, the dish that I tried was sweet potato casserole. So then I have to do a video about sweet potato fries. Oh, and I was like, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. I love sweet potato fries. It's how I started liking sweet potatoes. Candy sweet potatoes. Marian is helping me here with the sweet potato tots. Mm-hmm. The sweet potato bread. So you see, this is a part of the culture that I know, but you can share other dishes. You can ask your children, or you can share with them what are the dishes, the traditional dishes that you make with sweet potatoes. So now we're going to go to our next slide, and I'm going to share with you. When I was working on this presentation, I really wanted to do something like around the sweet potatoes around the world. But then I said, I don't really know what kind of sweet potatoes they use in Africa. Well, I don't know, if in England they use sweet potatoes. So I said, I'm going to talk about from what I know. And this is really funny, okay? So the only thing that I knew, in that way, I can share some words with you in Spanish. So sweet potato in Spanish is camote. In some areas of Latino America, they also call it batatas. I had never heard that name, but I normally use the word camote. And when you go to the grocery store, you have purple, white, and orange camotes. So there's a variety. I don't know why I never tried it. That's what I thought. But so one of the things that we do is dulce de camote. And I think it didn't look good to me. I was a child and I never tried it. Another thing that we do, and dulce de camote is basically sweet potato candy. And then we have empanadas de camote, and maybe some of you already tried empanadas. Empanadas can be salty or they can be sweet. In this case, these empanadas, sometimes they put sugar out on the dough. And of course, the field is camote or sweet potatoes. So I grew up in Puebla, that is very close from Mexico City. And this candy that you see here, they call them camotes, but it never clicked on. I'm crazy, I know. It never clicked on me that they were made with sweet potatoes. Okay, so when I moved here, I always said to everybody, no, I had never tried camote. I had never tried sweet potatoes. So then when I start figuring out, oh my goodness, those candies are made with sweet potatoes. So all my life, I ate that candy. And that one, it's not that it's my favorite, but I always ate it because it's very traditional from a state that is very close from Mexico City that is called Puebla. Okay. So the same way that I'm sharing with you my culture, you can talk to the parents that that they're in your centers and tell them, okay, we're this week we're talking about sweet potatoes. Have you ever tried sweet potatoes? How do you cook sweet potatoes? Do you have sweet potatoes in your country? So kind of like starting that conversation. That way, when you're talking with children, you can say, well, Jesus, I know that you're from Mexico and that you like camotes, because when your grandma comes from Mexico, she brings you camotes. So that is a good way to do it. Okay, we can go. Okay, now let's talk about strawberries. Yeah, I think that was the next one. So strawberries, North Carolina is number 4 in growing strawberries. And I'm the most happy person in the world because in Mexico, I love strawberries, but we didn't have a lot of strawberries or they were too expensive. So every time that it's a strawberry season, I get just so crazy because I really like them. In the United States, we celebrate National Strawberry Month in May. And 80% of strawberries grown in the US come from California. Okay. But we also produce a lot. So again, you have the link in here for that booklet that I showed you earlier from the from farm to school. Now we're going to go.
Michelle,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
we need to, I'm sorry to do this, but we're going to need to take a quick stop break. It looks like we're having technical difficulties from the switch between Mia and Emma. And so what I'm going to need is for everybody, Emma is going to drop a new link into the chat box, and everybody's going to need to Zoom to exit out of this link and go into that new link because it's going to stop us in about 6 minutes.
Okay, no problem. I will see you in a little bit.
Okay, so everybody that's online right now, I need you to kind of come offline so I can see you, so that you'll see that we do have a new link and that we're going to be using that new link to go into the Zoom.
Let me know if anyone needs help finding the new meeting link.